Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
I got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Phil, glad to be with you from the bottom of the Baja Peninsula.
Woo, so you made it.
I have made it. It was a long journey from, well, actually, to be honest with you, I had maybe 4 days off from driving in total, all the way from Connecticut to Virginia, from Virginia to New Mexico, from New Mexico to Arizona, from Arizona to the bottom of Baja. It's I don't know, 40, I think it's 4,500 miles. So it's been a long drive.
And you're at your final resting place for a moment. You're going to be in where you are.
Yeah. So those of you that know where I camp in the normally down here in Baja is on the East Cape, a little place called Los Frailes, north of San Jose. And that's on the Sierra Cortez. I am actually right now in a town called Todos Santos on the West Coast, also down at the bottom. And I am, and I say this with a lot of grains of salt, I am in a Spanish language immersion class. I decided to make it a goal of learning fluent Spanish, largely because I'm still, well, A, I spend a lot of time down here, and B, I still want to pursue going down the Pan American Highway. And as you know, all the countries in Central and South America mostly are Spanish speaking. So I am in a class that I'm in with two friends of mine, and I'm late. So I was supposed to be down here a month ago, but the difference is I had many years of Spanish back in high school and college. So I kind of joined the class in progress already. So they've been down here for 3 weeks in the class already. But anyways, I joined yesterday and today. We do it 5 days a week. We are in, and they do not speak English to us. So it is 100% Spanish, and that's what I'm doing. So, and so I've committed, I booked, I'm actually staying at a campground in downtown Todos Santos, which I booked for a month, and we'll probably be here a couple months because I'm not leaving until I can dream in Spanish. That's my goal.
So for those who don't know, I'm sure somebody's asking, what is immersion?
So immersion is, the theory behind it is that it's trial by fire. I guess that's the best way I could say it. They don't speak English to us. They make us say stuff, like they force you. So, if you've had any kind of language class in high school or college, you can kind of, I don't want to say cheat, but I went through many years of Spanish and you can kind of cheat. You can ask things in English and kind of look at something, they don't give you this opportunity. This is conversational. So they force us and they'll be like, ask us a question. And your eyes light up and you go, I have no idea what the hell they just said. And they make you understand it without telling you it in English. And then they make you answer the question and then ask them a question back. So, and then we're conjugating verbs and, it's just like English where, verbs have like a zillion exceptions to every rule. I go, I went, it doesn't make any sense if you think about even how we speak. So we're doing that. And then it's cooking and potentially going to the grocery store and like doing stuff like, so it's hands-on. Today we sat in a courtyard and, shot the shit really with the instructor, but I'm coming on this podcast. I just came out of the class. My brain is in like, if I start stuttering, it's because my brain is in like overload mode. I've had 2 days of Spanish now, and I'm like, holy hell! Like you feel like your head's going to catch on fire.
So another logical question I think some may ask is, I just ordered Rosetta Stone, or
Yep.
There's a community college down the street, and on Saturdays they have Spanish classes or French or whatever it may be. What do I gain through an immersion class?
Well, so a couple things. I mean, we're blessed with the fact that we're in Mexico, right? So when we leave the class and we stop at the grocery store on the way home, we still have to speak Spanish, so we're always speaking Spanish down here. We have no choice. The advantage of the immersion class is like that it's intensive. It's basically one-on-one. We have an instructor and it's just me and my friends, Kevin and Brennan. So it's three of us. It's just the three of us. And we can custom tailor it any way we want. So like, I'll give you an example, like we're tailoring it to travel. And I think this is a good point, Phil, you bring up for those of you out there that are going to be doing any kind of international travel to countries that speak different languages. The more that you know, the better you're going to enjoy the place you're at. And the less you're going to feel apprehensive or have anxiety. Because I think one of the number one things that people ask me, say at Overland Expo when I'm teaching is, they're worried about where they're going, and I think you worry more when there's people, 10 feet away from you that are speaking, you can't understand what they're saying. So you don't know if they're talking bad about you. You don't know if they're not talking about you at all. You don't know if they're saying, wow, those gringos are here. I can't believe they're staying in this area because it's not safe. You don't know. So I think the more that you know, the better. And the immersion system is sort of trial by fire, like I said, but it's custom tailored to us. So we were walking to class this morning, as an example, and I said, I really want to know how to say, like, where is a good camp spot, or so they're teaching us what we want to know. It's not just like, I don't need to know, like, I don't know, as an example, like, I'm not going to be an algebra teacher, so I don't really need to know how to talk math, or, I need to know how to talk food, camping, border crossings, where is this, how do I do the, simple stuff. So they're custom tailoring it to us as travelers.
Another advantage to immersion, in my opinion, is also tone. You can learn the vocabulary of a language, but not understanding the tone of a language. Tone is another language in itself.
Sure.
Especially other languages outside of English. It's even more so in other languages, where you can say a phrase and the inflection of it can mean entirely different things. Also, with tone, there's a difference between walking in an establishment or being at a border crossing and knowing what the person said and knowing whether they liked you or whether they actually you were actually welcome there or something like that.
Are they happy? So, are they sarcastic? Are they, what? Yeah, exactly. And that's important. I'm glad you brought that up because that's partly what we're doing is the woman that was teaching us today, she corrects us every time we say anything incorrectly. So, because it's not only pronunciation, but it's like you said, it's tone, it's how you say it. And then some of the exceptions, like she's teaching us some slang. When I say slang, what I mean is like localisms, like they wouldn't say a certain thing, even though it's correct. Nobody says that. So if you want to fit in better, you say it the way they would say it. So, that's kind of important too. So there's all of those things. We're just love the fact that we're actually, the problem with language is that like anything, learning anything, you forget in between. So you learn something today and by tomorrow you forgot a certain percentage of that. So the immersion thing takes a little bit of that away because, like I said, we leave class and we're still in Mexico. It's kind of good for me right now doing it as a group, like with Brendan and Kevin is that, we quiz each other. So every night so far, I've only been here 2 days, but at cocktail hour, 5 o'clock comes around, we grab a cerveza and we sit around and we read each other flashcards and we memorize. Like, by the way, what you mentioned before, like the online, the electronic things, like what was the one that you mentioned? I don't use that one, but I use Babbel.
Oh,
Rosetta Stone. Yeah. They're all good. I'm using Babbel right now. So I'll look at it at nighttime before I go to bed. So it's all cumulative. Like,
Right.
so what we've noticed so far is because I've had so many years of Spanish in my past, I'm pretty good with vocabulary. I know a lot of words, and I'm pretty good at pronunciation. What I'm not super good at is stringing things together. So I tend to be like, I can tell you like your cat is over there, but I'm, if I was speaking, if I was translating that from English, it'd be like cat there. You know what I mean? Like that's not how we talk. But so I'm not good, and I'm very good at reading things. But when she turns up the speed a little bit, it comes at you, and it's like blah, 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 your brain explodes. So because what we all do as normal people is we try to take in what we hear and do this translation in our head instead of like you and I aren't doing that right now as we're speaking on the podcast. We're just taking it in. We're not thinking about what we're saying. And that's what they're trying to get you to is like you hear the Spanish words and you're not translating them into English. You're simply, which by the way, I mean, Spanish has like 1/5, I think, of the amount of words. English has a lot of words. So there's a lot of things that don't even have a word for. But anyways, that's why I'm down here in Baja, was really about, I guess it was my next level of being an overlander, I guess, to put it into overland terms for our podcast here. I just think it's super important that it's part of travel. It's no different than if you and I got on a trip and we went to, I don't know, Italy. We would want to know the words and we want to know their customs. We want to know their food, like, I don't know. It's like looking at a recipe. The more you know about the way the food's made, the more you might be interested in eating it and talking about it. So I just think it's all connected.
And we like to talk about having memorable moments. That is a highway to memorable moments, being able to speak the language and being able to speak it to the level that maybe a restaurateur allows you in the back to eat. The chef offers you some special dish he doesn't normally make or something like that.
Exactly. And you can take advantage of those things. So special treatment is big. I'm going to leave you guys with a tip. This is because I get asked this at Overland Expo a lot. I think people are, and this goes along with this language thing, people get antsy and anxiety over border crossings and checkpoints, military checkpoints and things, which they have them here in Mexico. They have them in virtually every country I've been to be honest. In fact, if you travel in the south west of the United States, they got them in the US too. And we've talked about that before, but I traveled down the peninsula in 2 days. I don't recommend this. I got from Yuma, Arizona, all the way to the bottom here in 2 days. So it's about 1,000 miles. So it's 500 miles a day, which if you've ever been down here, 500 miles in a day is a solid 12-hour day because you just can't simply move at a big rate of speed. But 7 checkpoints, 7 military checkpoints, and 1 border crossing. I got stopped 0 times. Meaning no inspection. I crossed the border into Mexico, and I came up to the border, and in Spanish I said, "Hello, good morning. I am going from Yuma, Arizona. I'm driving towards Guerrero Negro right now, and this is my full-time house." And the guy goes, "Adios." And I did that at every checkpoint. So this is a tip for those of you that ask. Because, you could get stopped and searched at every one of them. And people are like, "Oh my God, I got searched. They went through my bags." Yeah, that's their right to do. They can do that. But I'll tell you what, I learned if you communicate and you tell them all those things in advance, I think they just were like, "Well, that guy's done this before. He knows whatever. He just gave me all the information. I really want to know what he's doing." And they let me go. Everyone never got stopped. So that's a tip for those of you that might be traveling either to Baja or to Mexico or quite frankly, any place overseas. The more that you communicate with them and just are upfront, I think the better you are.
So Mike, a lot has gone on in the week since last week's podcast. Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
There's a lot of things that gone on. I mean, where to start?
Well, I'm the nerd here. I'm thinking about
we're on the same team. I know what you're thinking about.
Boeing is they're on their way out, brother. And SpaceX is on their way in as far as being the go-to person for NASA.
I got to tell you, when they caught that booster rocket in arms, when that thing came down from SpaceX, that might have been the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I mean, we've seen them land things on little floating boats in the water and stuff, but the fact that this ginormous booster with all these engines comes down and it's snatched by Godzilla, whatever they called it, fascinating. Absolutely fascinating to me.
I don't know what goes into that, but I would assume that is a harder technical feat than landing on the moon.
I would think so. Yeah.
That was amazing. So from what they're
by the way, that's the ship that's supposed to go to the moon. That's what they're testing. Well, is that ship.
Not only that, they're hoping that success will be there'll be a next step after that where there'll be relay points. That's why they want these scissors and to be able to capture the boosters, is because eventually they are hoping to go all the way to Mars, and they're going to have like stopping points along the way.
Right.
And it looks like they're on their way, farther on their way than Boeing. People don't seem to realize it, but Boeing were the people who had the space shuttle. Yeah. And the space shuttle was supposed to be that first idea of taking a spaceship and reusing it. And their eventual goal was supposed to be to go to Mars. Well, SpaceX has leapfrogged them in a very, very short amount of time. It makes Boeing look like they've been twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah, I mean, in comparison, it's amazing that a multinational, huge conglomerate like Boeing, with years of experience, and we've said this before, you know, they got the ship back, I guess, but they didn't even want to risk bringing their own astronauts back from space. Meanwhile, you've got this upstart newbie that's virtually a brand new company. I mean, it hasn't been around very long.
Elon Musk has a lot of haters, but I just want the haters to really realize something. He gave more support to the people in Hurricane Milton and what is the name of the hurricane?
The first one, Helene.
Helene and Milton. He gave away free communications gear and stuff like that. Yeah, to people. He's the person going up into space to save our astronauts that we left hanging. He's the person with the most reasonable electric cars, most dependable cars.
Phil, let's just say it. If you are an Elon Musk hater because he has decided that he's going to back one of the two presidential candidates, and because he's doing that, you can no longer support him or like him, you're about as dumb as a box of rocks. I mean, I'm just being honest here. Like, that's just stupid.
I used the wrong words. What? I used the wrong words. You don't have to like them, but you could. There are people that I hate, but I respect.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and that's part of being intelligent, I think. For all those people out there that are just going to be like, I don't like the guy. He's an asshole. I'm not buying this. I'm not doing this. I'm not supporting. I'm not getting a Tesla anymore. Okay, shoot yourself in the foot, because the only person you're punishing is yourself. And you really look like a dope, in my opinion. You don't look that intelligent, because the two things are not related. The fact that this guy is innovating and bringing these kinds of technologies and these kinds of innovations to all of humanity is non-relevant and non-connected to the fact that he may or may not be voting for Donald Trump. Who gives a shit? Like, that's just the bottom line. I sorry if I get fired up about that, but I don't understand you guys. And if you're one of those people, write me a letter or something to explain it to me, because I don't get it.
I don't think that people really comprehend the things that he's done. In the 1950s, go on YouTube right now and type in 1950s or type in 1960s what the future is in the year 2000. And you'll see different documentaries and cartoons come up telling you what the predictions were for the year 2000. And we didn't come nowhere near that.
Mm-mm.
Since
Nowhere
the
near.
year 2000 till now, the time that Elon Musk has been around, he's brought us closer to those predictions than in that 60-year period.
Yeah, I know. I see it. And from somebody that lives Elon Musk on a daily basis through Starlink, and we've mentioned this a zillion times on the podcast, that's just one bit of his thing. But from we're obviously here, we're rooted in adventure travel and overlanding. He's trying to develop the ultimate in that field of adventure and sending people to other planets. So I don't know how you can knock that. I just don't. I mean, I don't know how you can politicize that and turn it around and say getting back to the moon or getting to Mars or anything is somehow political. I mean, I just, yeah, sure, there's a military element and component of that. Let's not beat around the bush. I mean, the United States is obviously trying to beat out China and India and, other countries that are also competing in the same space. But
every decade growing up, there was something about space that we were trying to do. And it was even incorporated into our education. If you were in grammar school and you had a science class, there was always talk about NASA and going to the moon and going to Mars and stuff like that. That basically died down for about 20 years, where there was no talk about doing anything big. And that's a sad thing.
And that is partly because of government, and NASA got too, I don't know what the word is. They got very bloated, conservative, very bloated. We retired the space shuttle largely because it was aging and we had a couple accidents with it, but their tolerance for risk went down, and you're not going to innovate any longer. And let's be honest. I mean, I think Starlink or SpaceX has kind of proven that we're better off in the hands of a private enterprise because they're not restricted as much. And I think that, I think that's why they've been able to grow. I think that's what's happened to Boeing is Boeing tended to partner with NASA a little bit more than SpaceX. And I think that that's held them back probably. So it may not be totally Boeing's fault. In fact, all reports, Boeing wanted to bring the astronauts back on their own ship, and they believed that it could happen. And by the way, it did get back, so it would have happened. But they said that NASA was risk adverse, let's just say.
And risk adverse is like a overall thing. But to fine tune the risk, how do I say what I want to say? If I'm an engineer, if I'm a person who is an inventor, if I'm a person that's at the top of my scientific game, NASA is not on the top of my list of places. I'm not in a rush to get an interview by them. Mm-hmm. I'm in a rush to get an interview with SpaceX.
Yeah. Yeah.
NASA,
I mean, that's just the reality where we are.
Considered a place of old engineers and scientists.
Yep. Very conservative.
Want to change.
Yep. That's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, who's developed all these crazy things where you've got rockets coming down and being grabbed by catchers and landing on boats and all this crazy stuff. I mean, I listened to some a show the other night about the engines that are on the this new SpaceX thing that I think there's 32 of them or whatever. I was fascinated by it. Like, do you realize that the first design of that thing was like 30 times more complicated than it is now? And they've gone through redevelopment of the thing, and it's now gone down to its core, and it's got like, I don't know, 1/10 of the moving parts that it had when they first came out with it. I mean, but they've tested and they failed. They've crashed the thing. They've blown it up. The engines failed to start. All sorts of things have happened. But they they just roll with it. They say that's part of what we do. So that's how we learn. Failing forward, we call it.
So do you think human beings will reach Mars in our lifetime?
I would say that reaching Mars in our lifetime is going to be way more achievable than coming back from Mars, because right now they have no plan or no way of doing that. So they've pretty much have figured out that they can probably get people to Mars. They just can't get them home because there's not going to be enough. There's no way that they can send and bring enough fuel to take back off from Mars to come back. So it's a one-way ticket. We haven't solved that problem yet. Do I think that there will be volunteers to go one direction? Yeah. So I think if we have the ability to go, yes, I do think people will go.
So if that happens, do you think that'll be done by the government sending people that volunteer to?
Nope. No way. I think it's going to be private enterprise and it's going to be private people. They won't be astronauts. And
will those people know that they're going one way?
Yes. Yep. Because they actually put out this thing, another company that was competing. And I want to say it was connected to Richard Branson and the Virgin thing had put out, because I remember getting it. And it was basically an application to apply online to go to Mars. And, they take you through all sorts of psych profiles and physical stuff and all this. And they're looking for certain people. And because obviously I think probably the psych part of it is the biggest challenge to overcome. But no, it was very clear that it was a one-way deal. They're going to send you with, I don't know how many people they were sending, 8 to a dozen people, I think. And, you're going to have enough fuel to get there. They're sending you with the equipment and ability to produce food and a greenhouse or whatever that once you're there. So it's not like they're going to send them to die, but they're going to send them to a place where they can't come back. Well, or at least can't come back until we figure out if there's a way to send something to go get them. It's fascinating if you think about it. Let's all stop and think about that for a second. Is there anybody that's listening out there right now that would sign up for a program that, look, you're an explorer. You're going to go, you're going to live on Mars, and hopefully with any luck, live out the rest of your life, just happens to be on a different planet.
I don't think they'll have any issue finding people to volunteer of all different demographics.
I agree. I think it will be easy to find people actually in our world of as many people as we have. I just think that it is actually essential and very critical as to who they choose. You put somebody in, I don't remember how long it was going to take to get to Mars, but I want to, did I hear a year and a half or something? It's not quick. Right. It was a while, I think, to get there and land. And then, once you're there, you're living in it's kind of like living on the space station, I guess, something small permanently on the ground, and you can't leave ever, can't go outside.
What if a person just gets tired of it and freaks out?
And that's what I think would happen. I don't know that we know humanity well enough right now to know what's going to happen.
That would be my concern, not myself. My concern would be everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I have to have 110% faith in everybody.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the challenge with any kind of crazy trip like this, which, by the way, we laugh about this. I think Jerry and I, Tempo Tuster, were joking about this on just taking overland journeys and caravanning with, whether it's 2 to 5 vehicles. You're not going to have a good, let's call it a 2-week camping trip. It's going to be a disaster if you guys aren't really well acquainted, bonded, can travel together, share a lot of the same kinds of feelings and experiences, because otherwise, even on a trip that's out in the middle of the desert or in the woods for 2 weeks is going to be interesting. A lot can go wrong there. So you can imagine what could go wrong strapped on Mars forever.
Oh, yeah. I've made the mistake one time of going on a trip during the COVID, very beginning of COVID with somebody. And it was the worst time. And I was so glad when he had to go.
Yep. And sometimes I think many of us don't think about that enough. I recommend that. First of all, I recommend not traveling with large groups, in any kind of overland situation, because I just think that makes it even more challenging. But when you have diverse things where, maybe some of the group are single and other people are couples, or there's, somebody has a dog and you don't have a dog, or, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. So, choose carefully, I guess, is the best way I could say that.
I agree. I agree. I had a very bad experience.
Yep.
And one thing I've learned is you need to have a discussion with that person about what's going to go on and how long it's going to go on.
Yeah.
The biggest issue for me in pairing with somebody is normally they have a very limited amount of time.
Yeah.
And they want to do everything in a short period of time.
Yep.
And I understand
I have the same thing, because I have unlimited amount of time, and I've also done it for long enough to know that you're better off seeing a couple things really well than 100 things not so well.
Yes. Yes. This goes back to the memorable moments thing we always talk about.
Yeah. You
need to have time to have those memorable moments.
Correct. That's right. Yeah. So I agree with you there. Yeah, a lot has happened this week. What else has happened, Phil?
Okay. Do you want like national news, Mike?
Oh, hey, I mean, I had some time because I've been driving, so I've listened. Like last week, well, we talked about this anyways, because that was before the last podcast. But I driving to Virginia, I listened to the vice presidential debate, and then across country, I was listening. There was a bunch of news. We just had some big news this morning. They killed the leader of Hamas. They've definitively confirmed that it was his body that was killed by accident. Well, I say by accident. I don't think they were targeting him. That happened. We had.
So, from my understanding, that was kind of like a deal America made with Israel that if we kill him, then you guys will withdraw from attacking or something like that.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Oh, they're still going to do it?
Oh, do you think they're going to get? No, I mean, you want my Israel nutshell commentary here? I don't think that Netanyahu is going to stop the war on either front until he feels like they have obliterated them.
I thought we had a deal in place with them. I thought that's why we were doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you see the two interviews that were done, the one for Kamala and the one for Trump?
Yes. So Kamala went on the Brett Baer, I think, on Fox News. So let's put this in perspective out here. When Harris goes on Fox News and Trump sits in front of a all-female audience panel, we are at the closest election that is ever going to occur. Let's repeat this, because I know some of you listen to us and are waiting for Phil and I to make our predictions on who's going to win the presidency. But it is so tight. It is so close. In fact, just before this podcast, I had a little lunch after my Spanish class, and we were discussing one of the things I look at is the betting market. You can look at the polls, you can look at the aggregates of the polls. I actually like to look at the betting market. And right now, as we sit here today, well, what's his name? The famous guy. Who's the famous guy with the poll? He's got his own little channel now. I forget the guy's name.
I know who you're talking about. That little
I can't remember the guy's name. Anyways, he is right now. His prediction is Trump by, this is the Electoral College vote now, Trump by 50.03% chance of winning. 50.03. You can't get more deadlocked than that. However, the betting market has got Trump up by about 8, I believe. I think it's 58 to 42 or something is the rough betting market. And that, by the way, has totally swung since they crisscrossed right after the vice presidential debate. So Harris was leading. Harris was predicted to win the presidency by the betting market. And that has swung the other direction now. Now, granted, we have 3 more weeks to go. So, I mean, anything could happen. It could flip some more, but that's where we sit today. But let's talk about that.
Well,
the two interviews.
It was humorous to see how flabbergasted Harris was in the interview that somebody would challenge her. Whereas Trump, he's been getting that kind of treatment for a couple of years now.
Yep.
And that was her first one. And she was like really upset about it.
Yep. She didn't really answer. Well, not that I'm blaming her. Questions. I mean, none of the politicians answered any questions, but she, the one question that I think that she should have answered, this is just my opinion, is when, and it wasn't just Brett Baer that has asked this, when she's asked about Biden, and we're in what we just discussed, a 50-50 deadlock on who could potentially win. Every single thing at this point matters. I just think she would gain some respect. And even if she gains 12 followers because of it, it might be what puts her over the top. I think she should have been honest with that and said, yeah, she won't even admit that he's lacking being, not being senile. I mean, and I think most Democrats would agree that, I saw him yesterday, a video of Biden with Obama at the Kennedy funeral. I mean, I just, you see his eyes, he's not there. And maybe partly it's like, obviously Obama is a very vibrant guy standing next to him, but like, Biden just looks like he is vacated. Like there's nothing to back there. His eyes just tell the story. So for Harris not to admit that she couldn't even admit to Brett Baer that she had concerns about the viability of Joe Biden. And in the same interview, she said her presidency would not be a continuation of the Biden administration. So what does she have to lose to separate herself and be like, yeah, I had some concerns?
Yeah, but several interviews prior to this, she's been asked the same question.
Yep.
They specifically asked her what would be different between your presidency and Biden's, and she said nothing.
Yep.
So she's been back and forth on this thing. It's kind of too late for either one of them, in my opinion, to really make any major bump in the polls. I don't even really believe the polls so much.
It bodes, we were talking about this down here. So here we are in Mexico, right? And, we're obviously going to be out of the country during this election. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but, when do you think we're going to find out who wins? Like, let's hypothetically say that we're at a 50-50 and we're so close. I mean, is it conceivable that we're not going to know who won till Christmas or even later than that? I don't know. I mean,
if it's 50-50, I think it may go into all kind of litigation and be months after. But that's you putting that hypothetical in there. I don't think it's 50-50, bro.
You don't?
I think we're going to know who won the presidency by dinner time, late dinner, like 7, 8 o'clock.
Wow. See, I think it's going to come down, and I said this a million times, and I'm sticking to it. My one prediction that I will stick to right now is that this election's coming down to Pennsylvania. I think whoever wins Pennsylvania wins. Period. I don't know that any of the other states matter that much.
Well, see, I can't really respond people will know what my prediction is if I say anything about Pennsylvania. But I mean,
well, here's my thing with Pennsylvania.
It's kind of obvious who's going to win Pennsylvania, I think.
Well, not according to the polls, and not according to.
And that's what I'm saying. The polls don't jive with what the people on the street are saying.
And that may be true. I think the thing with you are right. Pennsylvania is an East Coast state, so the polls close earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not making my prediction yet because I am thoughtfully watching it. I have some feelings
from week to week. It's been the same since I knew who the two candidates were.
I have not changed either. I'm not saying what it is, but I haven't changed either. But I do think that it has gotten tight. That's what I would say. I don't think it's as a home run as I thought. Maybe I don't know.
Just the opposite. I feel like there's more and more separation being caused.
Ooh, you heard it here first, guys. Phil and I are going to take opposite tacks to this. We might have the same prediction, but we'll see.
I think we're going to end up with the same general prediction, but how we get there is going to be a lot different.
What do you think of Trump and his interview? Well, okay, let's just cut to the chase. What do you think of Trump singing Ave Maria and dancing? And is he losing his shit?
He was trying to do a Bill Clinton.
Oh,
he was trying to play the saxophone on the talk show. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
He was trying to do a Harris when she does her different accents when she goes different places. And it just didn't come out right.
It didn't come out good.
This is regardless of whether it should be or whatever, but in my observations, what I have learned is that a middle-aged and older white male, whenever he dabbles in any kind of race relations or interactions and stuff like that, in America, he's like walking on glass.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really look at those things because it'll be something where I know the guy meant one thing, but everybody has decided they want to take it another way. And I worded it that way because a lot of times the people taking it in don't necessarily, they know what the person meant, but it's an opportunity for them to make you look bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some truth to that. I just think that I guess my question is he starting to show his age similarly to Biden?
Well, I think he's shown his age all throughout this, but not to the extent where I don't think he could be a president. I mean, I don't think he's ready to go run 5 miles and go hoop with the fellas or something like that. You know, but for his age, compare him to the average guy his age. He is in much better health.
I would, yes. And I think that's what makes him viable. And that's why, he was spanking Biden because, I mean, it's what a difference between the two of those guys. But, okay. So fair enough. What would you think about him talking to do you think that thing was rigged though? I mean, it seemed like he had an awful lot of friendly women in that room.
Well, I was watching a thing where they were showing the backstage for the interview, and they had actually done the same thing that they did with the Harris CNN interview. They edited it. A lot of the people were like, "I already voted for you, but here's my question." So yeah, it was rigged. The people were most of the people there were Republicans. That's already in the news. It's a fact.
I don't know.
I just give the facts. The facts. I don't care whose side is right or wrong.
I agree, but it's a little frustrating as an American that we can't do better. We can't get better candidates. We can't get a better process. We can't get better television coverage. We can't get better honesty. Like the whole thing is a load of garbage is the problem. It's like, I'm not even sure why any of us bother watching any of it, because none of it's
I watch
real.
it because it's entertaining. Like, I know it's not real.
And that's the point.
It's never been real, bro.
It's like watching Housewives of Beverly Hills or something. It's a reality TV show.
The problem is because of social media, because of the internet, people get to hear and rehear, and they're able to research. So it's changed the game. But the news has always been connected to political parties. Entertainment has always, and let me be clear on what I'm saying. I'm not just saying America. I'm saying throughout history. We can go over to Europe. You didn't have that printing press, and you wasn't printing your little pamphlet as the squire or whatever.
Okay, but hold on.
Permission of the king.
Yeah, but okay, what's the woman that's on MSNBC? I don't know what her name is. I can't remember. I can't stand her. Edgy as hell. She's so far beyond one-sided. She's into another world of one-sided. But then on contrast, look at, I don't know, Hannity on Fox News. I mean, these guys do not compare to Walter Cronkite or Dan Rather or Peter Jennings or any one of those guys, Tom Brokaw. I mean, they had slants. Look, Dan Rather is pretty far left. I mean, he's admitted it, but he still was a news guy. I didn't get the slant that I'm going to get from the woman that's on MSNBC. You listen to her and I want to clean my, I don't know. I'm not even going to say it out loud.
Okay, if you go back to some of those old Walter Cronkite clips, at the end of the evening, they had the 2-minute thing where the guy gave his opinion.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
Bro,
I agree.
I'm pretty much right on this. There's no government that has allowed a free press. Ever, period.
Yes, that's right. I would sign on to that. I would agree with that. Yeah. What else happened?
Well, you might not find this interesting, but I do, Mike.
Okay, good.
There's a company called Lamb Weston, and they supply
French fries.
Yep, the majority of French fries.
I used to buy, so when I owned my Irish pubs, we got all of our French fries from Lamb Weston. So I know exactly who we're talking about.
Yep. Well, they are McDonald's largest supplier. And like you just vouched for, they are basically the supplier of potatoes for the world, or for restaurants and everything.
Yep.
Well, they had to cut their workforce, and they've here in Washington State, and they had to let go a lot of people. And it's basically because of what we've been talking about weeks before, about how McDonald's is no longer a cheap place to eat. So when people go, if they don't go for the little $5 menu thing, if they're ordering a la carte, they just get the hamburger. They're not getting the fries. And if they do get the fries, they're now getting small fries instead of the medium or the large. And
because if you get a regular fry, if you go to McDonald's and you get a quarter pounder with a regular fry and a combo, right, the drink, you're at $20,
right?
Which is insane.
And well, according to Lamb Weston, these $5 deals that McDonald's is starting to do, which is doing well, is actually exasperating the thing because it's a small fry in it.
Right. So it's probably 50% of what a medium fry is or less. And if you multiply 50% of millions and millions of orders.
So you got 400 employees who were working at a company where they never, ever thought that they'd lose their job. Some of them are probably like the son or daughter of somebody who's the manager there now. It's that type of place. And 400 employees let go. And it's all because of this economy. It's all because of the rising prices of fast food, you can't afford to eat at McDonald's. It used to be a thing I remember growing up where they were saying that like McDonald's was a place for certain neighborhoods. They budgeted McDonald's because it was cheaper to eat at McDonald's than to buy groceries.
Right.
That is
not
not
anymore.
the case. That's
No, that's
you
not
might
the
as well
case.
go
at
to
all.
a restaurant that has, silverware and a cloth and pay about $5 more.
Right. It's true. It's funny because Jerry and I were driving across the United States and we stopped at a McDonald's in, I don't remember where it was, maybe the Panhandle of Texas somewhere. And I was, to your point about linen and, silverware, they, I don't do fast food very often. So it had been quite some time since I had been in a McDonald's. I was shocked to find out that, we ordered and they gave us a little table tent with a number and they brought the food out to the table. And the whole inside of this place did not look like McDonald's at all. Like I was used to McDonald's being, those crappy little tables and back in the day, and they had the fun house in the front, and the place was kind of just, I don't know, always looked run down, even if it was brand new. And now it was like, I mean, it could have been a Bobby Flay restaurant in New York City.
Bro, I don't go inside McDonald's anymore. My last experience was so embarrassing for me. I felt like a feeble old lady. I went in there and I had to get somebody from behind the counter to come over and go to this touch screen.
The touch screen.
And make my order for me and then I couldn't figure out how to pay.
Yep. Well, it's funny you say that because this nice plan that they brought the food out to the table, you had Jerry immediately goes in and turns right to the counter, and all I see is those touch screens. They had like 4 of those touch screens, and I go, oh, here we go. Because I remember last time when I had to use one of those touch screen things, I mean, you could be there for 20 minutes trying to figure out how the thing works, and then it's asking if you want stuff, and you don't know how to say no, whatever. And I agree, I didn't know how to pay, but Jerry's like, oh no, you can go see the person at the counter. Sure enough, he was right. But a whole different experience. And you got to wonder, is that why the food's so expensive? Like, I mean, there's obviously a lot of factors. I can tell you from driving across 4,000 miles, there are far too many semi-tractor trailer rigs in use. You've got to figure there's got to be a better way we could be getting our goods around. Like, we talk about climate change and we talk about energy and use of fuel and all this stuff. Holy hell. I mean, you'd think we'd be building up some kind of electric train system or, I don't know, doing something to move goods around. But like, it is packed all the interstate highways with truck after truck after truck. And now you've got restrictions on how many hours they can drive. So they're parked all along every exit because they have to get off the road. So it slowed down the progress. So, and the diesel fuel that is being consumed by all these trucks. And then, of course, the infrastructure damage, right? All right. I mean, I was bitching last podcast about how bad the roads are. Well, I mean, if you put 18 million trucks on the road nonstop, the roads degrade pretty quickly. So I'm like, there's got to be a better way. I know I'm not. Did we just turn this whole podcast into a big long rant?
But it's got to, Mike. There are better ways, and I could flip a couple of them on you without even thinking about it. They're out there. They're known. It's the politics that keep us from getting them. For one thing, the roads. Let's just say they never figure out another way to transport. We could change this whole economy if we just started working on the highway infrastructure. That would be jobs. Those jobs would create jobs. Which,
by the way, we claim that we did with the Bipartisan Highway Act or whatever, which was if you read that bill, it's like, it's a total load of bullshit.
And let me tell you what happened with the places that they did do something. They basically just had cones and people standing around drinking coffee and making you wait with the stop sign for a half an hour. And then you come back 6 months later and it's still not done.
Yeah. but he's on his third cup of coffee. Jerry and I made that comment. We were coming across somewhere, and they had cones literally down. We were down to one lane on I-10 for I don't know. It was like, it had to be a solid 20 miles, and they were literally working on one bridge on that entire 20-mile span. But they had more. I mean, they must have had a surplus of cones or something. But like, there was no reason for it.
I got some bad news for you, Mike. It's not just on the major highways. I rarely take a highway. I'm always on some kind of back road. And it's during this time where they were saying they had that Infrastructure Act and all of that. That's where the majority of the cones and the stop signs is where I saw them, is in these little towns or whatever. So I'm wondering where the money went, because they had people out there, but the people weren't doing work. And I saw that all over the United States.
Okay, I got a question for you. Regardless of who wins the presidency, do you think any of this in our current society is going to change? Do you think either force that potentially going to win, don't tell me who you think is going to win, but do you think anything's going to change?
Of course not.
Okay, good. All right, now we can move on.
Of course not.
Hey,
so
if any of you guys out there are listening, and you're not, because most of you listen, I would say 99% of our podcast followers listen to us. Very few people watch it on visual. We put this on video. Maybe you guys might not even know that, and it's up on YouTube. But if you get a chance, you got to go over and check out. Phil's wearing a new shirt right here. He's going to show you. You can't see if you're listening, but there we are. We're proudly on Phil's shirt. So check that out.
Yeah, just got it in the mail yesterday.
I'm wearing a Timbo Tusk shirt right here. Hold on.
I actually took a Timbo Tusk shirt off to put this on.
Nice. Anyways.
Mike, did you hear about the sheep being cloned in Montana?
The sheep being cloned in Montana? No.
Let me run it down to you. An 81-year-old Montana man, he was sentenced to 6 months in federal prison for illegally using tissue and testicles from large sheep that were hunted in Central Asia and the U.S. to create hybrid sheep for captive trophy hunting in Texas and Minnesota. So basically, he was cloning sheep from another country, and he was making these big
sheep.
Yeah.
Is that illegal?
Hell yeah.
Why? I don't know. Just call me an idiot, but what's illegal about this?
Okay, so let me just give you a scenario.
So he wasn't selling. These weren't like for food.
They were for hunting, and they were going to die. They were going to be born and die. Yes.
Okay.
Yep, you're right about that point.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you why it's a bad thing.
Okay.
One of these big steroid sheep hop a fence or escape somehow.
Yeah.
And then he finds him a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And they mate. Those genes they're in the wild. So if I don't want to eat sheep from that are cloned,
you're screwed. So it's kind of funny you bring that up, because we were in Virginia a couple of weeks ago at Overland Expo East. There was a bug, an insect there that is from Asia, and it was actually kind of a pretty insect. It was like greenish, and it had a red middle in between its wings when it spread its wings a little bit. And it was big. It was like the size of a grasshopper.
Mm-hmm.
And we were told when we got there that if anybody saw those things, and by the way, they were annoying as shit because they kept getting on your neck and whatever. But we were told to crush them because it's an invasive species that apparently came in near Washington, D.C. and is now spread down towards, we were in Southern Virginia. But that just goes to show you, I mean, I think that's a losing battle. Like, how are you ever going to, I mean, we have such a transient world at this point. Forget about cloning. Like, all you need to do is have this little grasshopper thing hop on you and fly to Africa. And next thing you know, it's in Africa. and it came from Asia or whatever. Well, this is happening now on the East Coast of the United States, and there's apparently no predators for it. That's a side effect of our traveling transient small world now. And I agree. If a genetically cloned sheep jumped the fence, next thing you know, I'll be out on my little ranch in Idaho somewhere, and I'll be like, oh, look at that. That's a ginormous sheep.
I'm a pretty much, when it comes to freedoms, I'm pretty loosey-goosey with freedoms. But this one, I'm not so much, because I look at it in a different way. I look at it as, I don't want people to feel comfortable just doing science experiments.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It kind of goes along the same, it brings to mind our whole modern day today. You look at anything on the internet or on social media with AI, you can't tell half the time whether stuff is real. I was watching a video on TikTok the other day of them rescuing a giraffe from a cliff in Nepal. Mm-hmm. And they had a backhoe and they were lifting the giraffe up and they were trying to get it. Anyways, it was like a 3-minute video. It's AI. There's no giraffes in Nepal. There's no, you couldn't lift a giraffe with it. I mean, the whole thing is fake, but it looked pretty real. And more importantly, I will, of course, go down to the comments and start reading the comments. And 90% of the comments were like, so thankful that you rescued the giraffe. Oh, great. 90% of the comments did not think that this thing was AI. So look, you genetically modify and clone sheep and stuff. It's kind of this, it's in real life, but it's the same concept. It's like, you don't know what's running around outside an animal. You don't know if it's a real animal or somebody made it in a factory.
Bro, they've gotten so good with the AI that a lot of these gossip columnists on YouTube are actually AI.
Yeah.
It's not a real person. And
not a real person.
They've gotten to the point where they have like quirkiness in their voice, different inflections for different like races and everything. They're getting good at it. Because it used to be they sounded a certain way and you could pick them out real easy. You can't do it anymore.
Phil, I mean, our listeners out there right now think that it's you and I doing this podcast. And obviously it's not. I'm kidding.
But Mike, the killer is, if I buy the right software and take this and put it in, I could do 6 months. I could do 6 months of podcasts with AI.
Well, one of the big things right now with AI is that authors of books, how you have audio books, are using AI to learn their voice so that they can actually narrate the book. So when you go buy, Stephen King's newest book or whatever, an audio book, you can listen to Stephen King, but it's not even Stephen King. He doesn't have to waste the 200 hours is going to take him to record his book and fix all the. It's an AI that sounds just like Stephen King.
Now, see, that's one of the positive uses for it.
Yep.
The flip side in entertainment is, a lot of people were wondering what the writers' strike was about a couple of years ago when it was big writer's strike. This is what it was about.
Yes.
It was about, how do I get paid for you taking my stuff and using it a million times on the internet and using AI and stuff like that. That's what the whole argument was about. Digital distribution and usage.
Yeah.
So they saw this coming. So there must have been some of it already going on for them to.
Oh, yeah. It's not that new. I mean, we're talking about, this has been certainly getting worse and worse over the last 5 years. It'll be interesting. We talk about, we're always talking politics in the election cycle. It'll be interesting in 4 years from now, the next election. We won't even know if the people that are on the debate stage are really there or not.
Hey, they might not be up there right now.
This is a good point. It's a good point.
Biden wasn't up there.
Biden wasn't there ever, or at least he doesn't recall. Oh boy.
Mike, we didn't cover nothing that I had.
Well, thanks for listening to our Overland podcast today. And we'll definitely be talking about some more overlanding things next week with you. But yeah, that's what we do.
You got any last words, Mike?
What I could say is have fun out there. I know we said a lot of negative stuff today, but it's not all bad. You still can have a good time. I'm looking out my window right here at beautiful southern Baja, Mexico. And I'm going to go outside and enjoy the rest of the day, maybe ride my bicycle around town a little bit. And if you're down here, stop and say hi. I'm near Todos Santos. I'm in Todos Santos.
All right, Mike, enjoy the rest of your day. And you guys know
You
what
as
I'm
well.
going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully we'll see you here or on a trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.